What would change if you truly knew your worth? Not through cheap affirmations, but from a realization that seeps into the very marrow of your being. The truth is, most of us are living below our true value. We barter with our emotions. We forgive relationships that drain us dry. We endure jobs that kill our passions one by one. We settle for crumbs of kindness because deep down, we don't believe we deserve anything more. Carl Jung, the father of analytical psychology, doesn't teach you to love yourself in a cliched way. He teaches you to dig into the deepest layers of your unconscious, to face the shadows you've denied, and to make peace with yourself. According to Jung, when you truly value yourself, you stop attracting what's harmful and start drawing in the very best. And what is the very best? It's the people and opportunities that resonate with the authentic energy you embody. It's a life no longer out of sync with your heart, a life where work, love, dreams, and your essence flow as one harmonious current. In today's video, we'll explore why prioritizing yourself attracts entirely different outcomes. Stay until the end, because what you're seeking might not lie in someone else's words, but in the awakening waiting within you. Number 1. The unconscious and its silent control. Have you ever wondered why you keep repeating the same patterns in relationships with men who aren't ready to love you the way you deserve? Why, every time you have a chance to step out of your comfort zone, an invisible fear pulls you back? Or why, despite having everything on paper, a stable job, good relationships, you still feel empty, as if you're living someone else's life? Jung called this the unconscious. For Jung, the unconscious isn't just a repository of forgotten memories or unprocessed data. It's a living structure, the rest of you, when all masks are stripped away. It's where everything you dare not admit resides, the parts you reject because they're unacceptable, unfit, or simply too painful to face. Jung didn't describe the unconscious as a dumpster for memories, but as an operating system running in the background. The unconscious never sleeps, never stops, and doesn't wait for your permission to act. It works tirelessly. It recreates patterns, sets up repetitions, and constructs situations that make you react the same way as always. And you call it life. A woman might repeatedly fall into relationships with cold, distant men, not because she's unlucky, but because her unconscious learned, perhaps in childhood, that love is something incomplete. A cold mother, an absent father. These experiences leave their mark not through words, but through accumulated emotions. And emotions, Jung says, are the primal language of the unconscious. In modern psychology, this aligns with the connection between emotional memory and attachment patterns formed in childhood. The mind doesn't just store facts, it stores how you felt in moments of lack or rejection, recreating similar situations in adulthood, not to punish you, but to maintain a familiar state. Jung believed we cannot be free while living under the unconscious's control. The danger lies in its silence. You don't notice it. You believe your choices are what I want, my type, or just how life is. But Jung warned, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. The unconscious acts like a mirror, reflecting the deepest beliefs you hold about yourself. If you believe you're not good enough, not interesting enough, not worthy enough, you don't need to say it aloud. The unconscious broadcasts that belief to the world through your demeanor, your gaze, your voice, and your choices. It creates a vibrational field that people and situations aligned with that belief recognize and approach. I've known many intelligent, educated, kind women who repeatedly attract rude, selfish, or hot-tempered partners. They don't even like men like that. But looking back, their unconscious carries a childhood memory of witnessing their father berate their mother daily. For a young child, love became tied to endurance and silence. She doesn't want this, but her unconscious quietly shapes her choices. In modern psychoanalytic theory, this is called repetition compulsion, the psychological urge to reenact unresolved traumas, as if trying to rewrite the ending. The paradox is that until you become aware of what's happening, you'll only recreate the pain, not heal it. The unconscious doesn't just shape relationships, it governs your dreams, emotions, career choices, and even physical pains with no medical cause. You might see this when a woman feels inexplicably exhausted every time she's on the verge of a breakthrough or struggles to say no. These aren't weaknesses, but signals from the unconscious, where beliefs have become embedded in the body and emotional reflexes. Jung also described the unconscious as a realm full of symbols. It doesn't communicate in logical language, but through vivid images, intense emotions, and strange dreams. A woman who repeatedly dreams of being trapped, watched, or running endlessly toward an unreachable goal may be receiving a call from her unconscious, signaling she's living in a prison of her internal limitations. These symbols are clues that, if you learn to read them, reveal what's truly driving you from within. Modern psychology supports this through research on the subconscious and the autonomic nervous system. Most of our perceptions of the world come not from logic, but from automatic responses, shaped by early experiences and stored as reflexive patterns. What you call gut feelings or intuition is often the unconscious speaking, but the unconscious isn't your enemy. The issue is simply this: when you don't see it at work, you become a puppet of yourself. Jung likened the unconscious to a hidden god. Ignored, it destroys. Acknowledged, it becomes a source of light. This is the silent tragedy of many modern women. They seem to live fully, yet deep down feel they aren't truly alive. They repeat draining relationships, soulless workdays, and call it duty or reality. Jung believed the unconscious isn't just a storehouse of negatives. It's a vibrant treasury, holding everything you've ever been, felt, or dreamed, but suppressed or forgotten. The problem is that if you're unaware of what lies beneath, those hidden parts drive the choices you think are natural, from the people you love, to the jobs you keep, from how you react to criticism, to how you see yourself in the mirror. In other words, the unconscious writes the script of your life while you think you're the director. Imagine your mind as a house. The conscious mind is the living room, tidy, presentable, where you welcome guests. But below, there's a basement where you hide what you don't want to see. Feelings of abandonment, envy, shame, desires, old dreams. Carl Jung didn't tell us to destroy the unconscious, but to befriend it, to bring it into the light, to face the fears, the painful memories, the abandoned desires. Only then do you stop being led by parts of yourself you don't understand. You begin to choose your life consciously. Here's the crux: you cannot value yourself if you don't know who you truly are. As long as the unconscious remains a shadow, you're only loving a false version of yourself. And from that, everything you attract will reflect that falsehood. So, attracting the best, as Jung's insight suggests, doesn't start with demanding others love you more. It begins by looking within and asking, who is living inside me? Who is making these decisions? Am I choosing what I deserve, or just replaying a script written from old wounds? If this question makes you realize you're caught in similar patterns, try sharing an experience in the comments below. Perhaps the courage to name it will resonate with another woman, quietly living the same unspoken struggle. This isn't an easy journey. It demands courage. But Jung believed that in those depths, where the unconscious becomes clear, you begin to wield true power over your life. And from the moment you choose to awaken, everything around you starts to shift, not through force, but through resonance. So, if you want to live authentically and send that signal to the universe, you can't just stop at declaring, "I am enough." You must go deeper. And to do that, you must step into the place most people spend their lives avoiding: the shadow. Number 2, the shadow. Within every woman lies a part she tries to hide, a part that doesn't speak in everyday conversations, doesn't appear in the photos she posts online, and isn't easily admitted even to those closest to her. It might be envy toward a friend's success, a smoldering anger at being unrecognized, or a paralyzing loneliness felt even in a seemingly happy relationship. Carl Jung called this part the shadow the deep root of all inner conflict. It's the place most of us strive to avoid, where pain, shame, anger, jealousy, insecurity, and unresolved wounds reside. It's the unconscious part we refuse to acknowledge because it contradicts the polished image we strive to maintain. The shadow, according to Jung, is not inherently bad. It's the collection of all the aspects of yourself you cannot or will not accept, deeming them weak, negative, or unacceptable by societal standards. Anger, jealousy, desire, selfishness, insecurity, and resentment are all pushed into the darkness. And there, they don't disappear. They merely change form, returning to manipulate you in ways you never expect. The more you deny them, the stronger they grow. Jung warned, everyone carries a shadow, and the less it is embodied in the individual's conscious life, the blacker and denser it is. The shadow manifests in daily life through intense reactions your rational mind can't control. You lose composure over a small critique. You feel threatened by another's success. You say you're fine, but inside, you're filled with bitterness. These emotions aren't random. They're signs of the shadow rising from the depths of the unconscious, where you banished it because you didn't know how to bring it into the light. In modern psychology, this is explained through the mechanisms of ego defenses. But Jung went further. He saw the shadow as an essential part of the soul's maturation. You cannot become whole by living only in half your light. And Jung cautioned, the brighter the light, the longer the shadow. The more you strive for perfection, the greater the risk of denying your humanity, and the more likely you are to shatter when the shadow surfaces. Some women spend their lives being calm and proper, only to break apart at a certain point, often after a shock, a loss, or simply prolonged exhaustion. A mother raising her child suddenly snaps at them over a minor mistake. A gentle wife one day packs her bags and leaves a decade-long marriage without looking back. A model employee bursts into tears during a meeting over an ordinary comment from her boss. These moments are often labeled emotional outbursts, but for Jung, they are the shadow breaking through the door you've kept locked for too long. This is strikingly common in society. You see modern women today, often independent, rational, and intelligent. This is admirable, yet many carry an energy of control, defensiveness, and fear, shaped by old wounds hidden beneath a socially applauded role. The more they deny their darker parts, the further they drift from their inner feminine essence, the true nourishment of their soul. But when these women begin to embrace themselves, both their gentleness and their anger, their strength and their selfishness, they start to become truly free. They no longer need to strain to be a perfect version. They open their hearts to those who genuinely want to be near and care for them, because they know they are a whole being. And that truth makes a woman powerful. I know we're not taught how to face the shadow. Instead, we learn to avoid it, to pretend it doesn't exist. We bury it with work, fill the void with relationships, or prove our worth with achievements. But no matter how hard you try, there comes a moment when you feel empty. Even good relationships don't bring peace. Success doesn't feel like enough. Every night, you lie down and feel you're no longer yourself. That's not failure, it's the call of the shadow. Carl Jung once said, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. No one matures by thinking positively or pretending to be strong. You must have the courage to shine a light on your inner darkness and look at it without judgment. That's why prioritizing yourself is indispensable in the healing process. If you're always chasing others, you'll never pause long enough to hear what's truly happening inside you. Those who are wounded often fall into two traps. They either avoid their pain or live immersed in it as an identity. But Jung offered a third path, integrating the shadow. Not rejecting it, not drowning in it, but facing it as a part of yourself. This requires a rare level of honesty to admit, I'm jealous, I feel powerless, I'm afraid. Honesty so raw that you stop blaming or justifying and simply recognize, this is part of me, and it too deserves love. Jung said the hardest part of integrating the shadow is taking responsibility for the reality you're living. It's far easier to blame the world, harsh parents, a cruel partner, an unjust society. But Jung bluntly reminded us, the world will ask you who you are, and if you don't know, the world will tell you. If you lack the courage to look within and understand yourself, you'll forever be a victim of stories written by others. But when you start listening to the neglected emotions, the suppressed desires, you reclaim the power to write your own life. Only by stepping into that space do you begin to remember who you were before the world taught you who you should be. When you stop hiding the shadow behind masks, when you stop performing to be loved, you begin to be free. And from that freedom, you can love others without needing to control them, live without needing to prove yourself, and fail without losing your sense of worth. Prioritizing yourself is the prerequisite for this journey. If a woman doesn't carve out space and time to face her shadow, she'll never grasp the true source of her emotions, reactions, and suffering. She'll only treat the symptoms, never touching the root. And there will come a time when, having found the courage to face your darkness, you can no longer hold on to the things that once fed it. Recognition is the first step. But true liberation begins when you dare to let go of what no longer reflects the person you're becoming. Number 3, daring to let go. There are things you cannot salvage, not because you didn't try hard enough, but because they were never truly yours. Some relationships can no longer be mended, not because you lack patience, but because you've outgrown the version of yourself that chose them. And there are dreams you once pursued with your entire being that, at some point, feel constricting, not because you failed, but because you've come to know what aligns with who you are now. Yet letting go of what was once your anchor, your belief, or a piece of your identity is never easy. However, according to Carl Jung, letting go is not surrender, nor is it failure. Letting go is a profound act of love for yourself. It requires a different kind of courage, the courage to admit that what once mattered no longer fits. In the process of individuation, which Jung considered the ultimate goal of psychological life, letting go is an indispensable step. Individuation isn't about becoming someone better, but about becoming wholly yourself, unpretentious and undivided. To evolve into that authentic self, you must release the parts that once helped you survive, but have now become burdens. Like a cocoon that once protected the caterpillar, if it doesn't tear open, the butterfly will never emerge. A woman who endured to keep the peace, strained to be loved, or sacrificed to maintain the image of a good person may feel pain when shedding those roles, as it feels like betraying who she was. But Jung was clear. As long as you live according to others' expectations, you haven't begun to live from yourself, your true essence. You cannot hear your authentic voice if you're still clinging to the noise from outside. Thus, letting go is a deliberate act, choosing yourself over continuing to hold on to what silently kills you. Consider a woman who's been in a relationship for over 6 years. There's no abuse or betrayal, but neither is there growth, connection, or joy. Every conversation is shallow, every date merely tolerable. She feels herself fading, no longer laughing, no longer vibrant. Yet she stays. In this case, Jung would ask, what are you being loyal to, the other person, or your fear of loss? So how can a woman practice individuation and truly let go of what no longer reflects her essence? Below are specific practices to guide you. If you're ready, comment, "I'm ready" below, and let's begin together. Practice 1. Dialogue with your inner self. Jung advocated a technique called active imagination, a purposeful dialogue with different parts of yourself. Write a conversation between you and the part you're struggling to let go of. A relationship, a role, an expectation that exhausts you. Write as if you're speaking to a real person. You'll notice something remarkable. The part you fear losing begins to speak, revealing why it clings to you so tightly. Practice 2. Observe. What drains you without reason? Letting go doesn't always require a clear rationale. Jung believed that emotions, especially unexplained exhaustion, are signals from the self, For 1 week, note down what, who, or which situations make you feel the least like yourself. These may be clues to what you need to release, even if logic can't yet name it. This is how Jung worked with clients, not dismissing emotions to analyze, but diving into them to find signs. The self doesn't speak in reason, it speaks in a kind of exhaustion you only understand when you stop rationalizing it. It's a quiet call from your essence, signaling you've strayed too far from your center. If you listen, you'll not only let go of what drains you, but you'll also begin to reclaim the life energy you've lost. Practice 3. Observe recurring dreams. Carl Jung likened dreams to scattered fragments of the soul's map. No dream is meaningless. Each time you record a dream, you reclaim a forgotten part of yourself. Step by step, dream by dream, you stop wandering lost. If you take the time to read, decode, and listen, you'll receive invaluable guidance for letting go, transforming, and becoming yourself. When you wake, your mind lingers between two worlds, the conscious and the unconscious. This is when dreams are clearest. Even if you recall only a small detail, a color, a face, or an emotion, write it down. Then, notice recurring symbols. Do you dream repeatedly of water, staircases, strangers, or nameless places? These are not coincidences. In Jungian analysis, symbols are how the unconscious conveys transpersonal messages. Keep a separate list of recurring symbols and note the emotions tied to them. Practice 5. Practice saying no and staying silent when it counts. In a noisy world, every time you say no to something that no longer reflects you, it's a step toward individuation. Every time you stay silent when there's nothing to prove, it's a step back to your essence. Not everything requires a reaction. You don't always need to prove you're right, explain, clarify, justify, or smooth things over. In modern psychoanalysis, this is the shift from a defensive ego to the self, a stable, compassionate essence, unshaken by external reflections. Jung said the self doesn't speak in words. It manifests in energy, stability, and depth. When you stay silent at the right moment, it's not surrender. It's inner sovereignty. Letting go might mean ending a relationship. It might mean saying no for the first time after years of always agreeing. It might mean stopping the effort to be the lovable, agreeable, considerate woman others expect. Not to become hardened, but to become true to yourself. Jung didn't promise this process would be comfortable. He called it the night sea journey, the soul's dark voyage. But in that darkness, you begin to reclaim agency over your life. Little by little, a different life unfolds. Not loud, but real. Not dazzling, but free. Letting go isn't a loss. It's space for you to become yourself most fully. Letting go isn't just ending something outdated. It's a sacred act of transformation. Jung believed every psychological system naturally seeks balance to move toward wholeness. If you cling to a reality that no longer aligns with your essence, your inner center will create crises, confusion, even pain, just to wake you up and make you let go. But the beauty is this: each time you let go, you don't lose, you make way. You make way for what you never thought you could receive. You create space for people who don't demand you shrink to be loved. You open energy for a life that no longer fights your heart. There's a profound paradox in Jungian psychology. Beauty cannot come if the old refuses to leave. The unconscious doesn't operate on rational whims. It won't bring healthy love if you cling to someone who stifles your breath. It won't deliver true opportunities if you stay in a predictable but lifeless zone. The more you hold on, the more you delay the good that's ready to flow toward you. Picture your mind as a garden. Some plants have long withered, yet you leave them there because they were once part of you. Some patches of soil are barren, untouched, because they hold memories of pain, failure, or loss. But it's those very things you refuse to uproot, to till, to replenish that block the light and prevent new seeds from sprouting. You might say you long for something beautiful, an ideal love, a dream opportunity, a vibrant life. But if your inner garden is choked with weeds from the past, cluttered with unforgiven memories, or afraid of water because it once drowned, then even when spring arrives, it won't bloom. Jung once said, You are what you do, not what you say you'll do. If your daily actions keep holding on to what makes you wither, your unconscious understands, I'm not ready. And it will continue to send you what matches that frequency, not to punish you, but because it mirrors the signal you're emitting. This is the core of Jung's philosophy. The outer world is a mirror of the inner. When you let go of what no longer serves your growth, you change the reflection in the mirror. The good doesn't come because you try to attract it. It comes because you've become someone with space for it to exist. Letting go, in Jung's view, is part of a symbolic death, a temporary dissolution of the old self so the self can be reborn at a higher level. In that conscious loss, as the old layers of identity fall away, a new space opens, a space for the true self to step forward. It's no longer a step back, but a quiet, powerful emergence of the authentic self, always there, waiting for you to return. Number 4. Living from the authentic self. There comes a quiet but unmistakable moment in a woman's life when she no longer feels she belongs to the things once deemed stable, the roles once admired, or the relationships once called love. Carl Jung called this the call of the self, the authentic essence. For him, this is the most sacred center of the human psyche. It's not the everyday ego you use to navigate society, not the mask you wear to be loved, and certainly not the definitions others impose on you. The self is your deepest, most original I, the home of your intuition, life energy, purpose, and unique, inimitable essence. Living from the self means you no longer act out of fear, barter your being for acceptance, or bend yourself to fit a mold not designed for you. It's not rebellion, it's a homecoming, a return to the part of you that you've always been, but forgot amid the noise of the outside world. Jung believed that in the first half of life, people are often guided by the ego, the personalized self shaped by experiences, identities, roles, and achievements. This is necessary, but without a pause, the ego becomes a prison, a place where you live up to expectations and standards. Because the self cannot live through roles. The self only thrives when you dare to shed those roles and stand naked before yourself. Living from the self isn't about breaking through to outshine others. It's about stopping to no longer betray yourself. It's when you see clearly which dreams you're living on behalf of others. It's when you stop asking, "What will people think?" and instead ask, "Is this true for me?" That small question is a sign you're beginning to pivot from the external to the internal. A woman living from herself isn't always strong in the conventional sense, but she is clear in her gaze, her stride, and her refusal of what doesn't align with her soul. She doesn't need to shout to affirm herself. Her quiet presence is itself a magnetic force. Jung believed the self is the most magnetic center of a person. When you live in alignment with it, you don't need to chase the good. It finds you. Why? Because the self doesn't emit signals of lack, but of wholeness. Not of fear of abandonment, but of resting securely in yourself. Not of needing to be worthy, but of the truth. I am already enough. This frequency reshapes the energy around you like a new magnetic field, drawing in people, opportunities, and experiences that resonate with your true essence. Recall the last time you were with someone who made you feel at ease being yourself. Not because they did anything extraordinary, but because their energy didn't demand that you adjust. They were living close to their self, which is why they created space for others to return to theirs. Jung believed those who live from the self heal others, not through words, but through their presence. But living from the self is not easy. To reach it, you must pass through fear, illusions, and the things you once thought were you. You will lose some relationships, some roles, some comforts, but you will reclaim yourself. And that, for Jung, is the greatest privilege of a lifetime. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. When you live from your authentic self, no longer acting out of fear of being left behind, no longer choosing to seek approval, but because something within you knows it's right, you notice a strange phenomenon. The things you need appear at the right time. The people you need to meet cross your path as if by design. Opportunities that seem random lead you straight toward your essence. Jung called this synchronicity, meaningful coincidences. When you live in alignment with yourself, the outer world begins to rearrange itself to reflect your inner truth. A chance encounter sparks a turning point. A small decision opens an entirely new path. Things you couldn't plan arrive at the perfect moment. It's no longer about striving to obtain, but about resonance between your inner world and the outer, between you and life. Jung believed synchronicity is the language of the self when it wants you to pay attention. Only when you live authentically, from intuition, deep feeling, and the parts you once silenced, does this synchronicity emerge as a natural consequence. In this state, you no longer search for anything. You attract, not through forced effort, but through resonance. You and life operate on the same frequency, like two melodies in perfect harmony, without coercion. But Jung emphasized, synchronicity cannot be manipulated. You can't pretend you're fine or have let go. It comes only when you truly release what isn't yours, the roles, the expectations. Then, the self, through synchronicity, guides you without a map. One of the subtlest things about synchronicity is that it's not loud. It's not a flashy miracle. Sometimes it's just a song you hear at the exact moment your mind opens. A glance shared with a stranger that makes you feel seen. A message arriving just after you've written a farewell. It's the self whispering, "The right path is here. Keep going." Living from the self doesn't require you to do more. It requires you to shed what isn't you. A little less pretending, a little less striving, a little less trying to fit in. Each time you do this, a piece of yourself is freed. Bit by bit, you begin to show up fully, without needing permission. You don't need to become someone else to be worthy of love, of being chosen, of living a life worth living. You only need to return to yourself wholly. That is the most powerful source of attraction. Not your appearance, not your skills, but the truth living within you. When you live from the self, you don't just attract the good, you become it. And the world must adjust to reflect that. Not because you control it, but because you've stopped controlling and started trusting your deepest essence. No one else can live your life for you. No ideal partner, no stable job, no praise from the world can replace the feeling of, "I am living as my true self." That feeling doesn't come from perfection. It comes from the truth. Jung believed the entire healing journey isn't about becoming better, but about shedding all that is no longer you. Like a statue already formed within the stone, you don't need to add anything. You only need to chip away the unnecessary layers. Each chip is a moment you dare to leave a role behind. Each crack is a piece of pretense crumbling to reveal the truth. This is not a one-night journey. It may take years of quiet observation, journaling, emotions rising and falling. There may be sleepless nights crying alone, mornings feeling empty. But don't give up. Behind every layer of falsehood you remove is a piece of the self set free. Think of yourself as a star obscured by clouds. It's still shining, you just haven't been seen. But the moment you clear away the clouds of the past, of fear, of roles, your light begins to shine brighter. You don't need to shout, "I'm here." The world will softly whisper back, "I see you now." If this video resonates with you, please subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications today. I also want to leave you with a question to sit with, one that could transform your entire journey ahead, if you dare to answer it with your heart. Are you ready to embark on the journey of prioritizing yourself and awakening the wholeness within?